This is Professor Geisler at Sumner Server College, and this is your short video lecture about Section 3.2, Configure Windows for CISN 301 using the TestOut Client Pro version 8.0 curriculum. We're dealing with Windows 11 primarily, and in this section, you will learn about configuring system settings, user interface or GUI management, and then configuring for different other regional settings, what to start up, services, etc. So a couple of things we'll talk about here that are frankly important to me, certainly the first one, and secondly should be important to you as well, because there are quite a few folks who are out there who may not have the same abilities when it comes to physical abilities or mental to an extent that you and I might have. And we want to make sure as a society and frankly as a good organization that we can give people who are probably just as creative, if not more than the rest of us, have an opportunity to contribute to the mission of our organization. So if the only issue that someone has is the lack of an ability to hear, for example, not to worry. We've got features built into Windows and into many, many other computing applications that will allow those folks to effectively participate in getting things done for our organization. Just because you can't perceive a sound, that doesn't mean that we can't get messages, etc., to you in another way, because we do have monitors, right? There may even be buzzers and other tools that would allow the folks, again, with certain disabilities, to effectively participate. And it's not just a good thing to do, it's the law. Okay. These days, Microsoft knows very, very smartly that anything that they publish, and not just Microsoft, but any software publisher, frankly, anyone who designs most anything, needs to do so in such a way that it is accessible, reasonably accessible. It doesn't have to be the same, right? But it has to be reasonably accessible to folks with disabilities. And if that hasn't been important to you up until now, it should be. Okay. And then the other item here listed is themes. Now, we are talking about Microsoft Edge here. We're really talking about all of Windows for the accessibility, but with an Edge, which of course Microsoft is going to push because it is their browser, right? Um, there's different ways to personalize your experience, and you can do that by using themes. Now, this section is relatively short and doesn't go terribly deep, but what you should know is that you have an ability here to configure what's called startup items. And those are items that when you start Windows, not when you log on, but when the computer first starts, right, that are loaded into your uh, background, into RAM, and whatever functionality and features are enabled. And that would, of course, include certain tools that may not be useful to all of us, but that would be useful to folks with certain disabilities. You will also learn about how to manage certain services. And those services are things like access to printers or connections to certain servers that not every computer needs to have installed. Everything from key management, which we just talked about here in section 1, to print services, to access to certain other server tools that may be used within your domain. And that's what you learn about here in the two labs listed on this screen. And then I said this section would be short. Different utilities, okay, that will allow you to configure the display, language, region. Okay, we do a lot of those in Control Panel, for example, but we also have personalization that we can more easily access. Lots of different accessibility options to, again, display messages, to take sound and make it visible, to provide feedback to folks who may have visual disabilities via voice, via audio. Okay. Um, how do you turn Windows features on or off? You can oftentimes do so via the control panel. You might also be able to do it via the services console. Cortana, if you want an assistant, you can configure an assistant. I personally find those annoying, but that's your preference. And then, of course, the taskbar. Now, careful here. Okay, if as an IT support professional, I have found the taskbar in all kinds of different places. Okay, and people make their environment their own, and that's understandable, applaudable to an extent that they would feel so comfortable. But as you need to know how to find your way around if you're trying to do work on a system, because and then of course if you need to change it, if you must while you're working on it, be sure to change it back so that the user continues to feel their environment and that you didn't damage it too much by doing what you needed to do. All right, short section, much more ahead. Moving on to section 3.3 after this.